Doubt isn't a warning sign, it's a thief. It steals your certainty, drains your energy, and keeps your desire permanently almost within reach, close enough to crave, far enough to fear. And the brutal truth is this: most people don't lose because they lack skill. They lose because they entertain doubt like it deserves a seat at the table. That here's the question that decides everything. What if doubt only survives because you keep talking to it? What if the fastest way to destroy it isn't more affirmations, more logic, or more effort, but a single move that cuts it off before it can even breathe? Because doubt doesn't arrive as a monster. It arrives as a tiny sentence. But what if? And if you give that sentence your attention, it grows roots. In minutes it feels serious. In hours it feels true. In days it feels permanent. Listen closely. What you call logic is often just fear wearing a clean suit. Doubt doesn't rise because you're intelligent. It rises because you're split. One part of you reaches toward the life you want, and another part grips the familiar world and says, "But look at the evidence." That second voice sounds reasonable, yet it's rarely reasoning. It's habit. It's the old self defending its territory. That here's the hidden trick. Doubt always pretends it's protecting you. It whispers, "Don't get your hopes up," as if disappointment is a danger you must avoid. But disappointment never killed anyone. Only indecision keeps you stuck. Doubt isn't a careful calculation. It's the mind trying to sit in two chairs at once. The moment you attempt to live as the one who has, while staring at the life that says you don't, tension appears. That tension is what you label doubt. Notice how doubt behaves. It doesn't merely question your desire. It questions your right to have it. It asks, "Who are you to believe this?" It points to time, to circumstances, to other people, to your past. And if you answer it, you've already lost the moment. Because the moment you argue, you grant it the throne. You act as though it deserves a debate. It doesn't. It's not a wise counselor. It's a noise that grows louder only when you lean in to listen. Now observe something freeing. Every logical doubt is built on one assumption. What I see now is the final verdict. But life changes every day. Facts shift. Conditions rearrange. So why should your imagination be forced to bow to the temporary? What you call reality is often just the echo of yesterday's thinking. And the desire you want is not born from the outer world. It is born from within. The outer world follows. It does not lead. So the mastery is simple. Stop treating doubt as an authority. When it comes, don't wrestle it. Don't explain yourself to it. Don't search for reassurance. Return, quietly, firmly, to the feeling that your wish is already fulfilled. Not as a desperate trick, but as a decision about who you are. Doubt fades when it isn't entertained. And when you stop negotiating with it, you begin to move through life with a steadiness that looks like faith, because it is. Notice this: the world does not move you. Your sense of reality does. The moment something feels solid, inevitable, that's just how it is. Consciousness bows to it and calls it truth. You may speak of desire, yet if the old story carries more weight in your feeling, you will return to it as naturally as you return to your own name. And so the secret is not to strain or plead, but to make the chosen state feel like home. Here is why this matters. Consciousness cannot live in two places at once. It will settle where it finds the deepest conviction. Your eyes report the present arrangement, your memory repeats yesterday's verdict, and the senses insist, "Look, nothing has changed." But senses are witnesses, not judges. They testify to what has been accepted before. If you let their testimony become your final word, you keep selecting the same reality because it is familiar. Now consider the power of an inner moment. When you enter an imaginal scene and it feels real, you have shifted the seat of authority. Reality is not the picture on the outside. Reality is the feeling that says, "This is mine. This is done." The body responds to that feeling. The mind organizes itself around it. And life, obedient to consciousness, begins to arrange bridges you could not have planned. The outer world is a delayed echo, never the original voice. So train yourself the way you would train a spotlight. Turn it, hold it, and let it illuminate only what you choose. When the old condition clamors for attention, do not wrestle it, withdraw interest. Return to the end with simplicity. Feel the relief of it accomplished, hear the congratulations, sense the ease of being the one who has it. Make it natural, not dramatic, intimate, not forced. Repetition is not to convince life, but to convince you. And when you have done this, watch what happens. The new state begins to carry more reality than the old facts. You will notice a quiet change in your reactions, a steadiness that does not depend on proof. You are not waiting on circumstances. Circumstances are waiting on your acceptance of the new identity. That is consciousness choosing again, this time by your direction. Persist until the feeling of fulfillment becomes your ordinary dwelling, and the world must conform, because it always reflects what you allow to feel most real. Notice what happens the moment you start arguing with your own mind. A thought of what if it doesn't work appears, and instead of letting it pass, you grab it, examine it, debate with it, and try to crush it with logic or affirmations. In that instant, you have already made it important. You have silently agreed, you matter enough for me to fight. And anything you make important in consciousness grows. Think about how you treat a stranger who says something absurd on the street. You shrug and walk by. There is no emotional charge, no inner debate, no long mental conversation hours later. But when a doubtful thought appears, you don't walk by. You invite it in, sit it down, and start a discussion. You look for proof, you scan your past, you measure your current circumstances. Very quickly, a tiny doubtful whisper turns into a loud inner voice simply because you have given it your full, focused attention. Look closely at your inner dialogue when this happens. You imagine your desire, you feel wonderful for a moment, and then the mind says, yes, but how? Yes, but when? Yes, but look at your life right now. Instead of turning away, you start justifying your desire, listing reasons it could still happen, searching for signs and synchronicities to reassure yourself. You believe you are strengthening your confidence. In reality, you are circling around the very possibility you fear, energizing it by staring at it from every angle. Ask yourself, who is running the show in those moments? Your chosen end or a passing thought? Every time you defend your desire against doubt, you place doubt in the superior position. It becomes the prosecutor. You become the one on trial. Your desire now needs to be proven, defended, justified. You have reversed the roles. The thing you chose as your reality is now treated as the fragile option, and the thing you never wanted is treated as solid, serious, and worthy of deep analysis. Consider how different it feels when you simply refuse the conversation. A doubtful idea appears, and instead of tightening around it, you mentally step back and say, no, that's not where I live. There is no argument, no drama, no trying to fix the thought. You turn your attention like you would turn your head, away from the question, back to the end result you've claimed as yours. In that simple turning, the so-called problem loses air. Without your focus, it cannot breathe. The mind will tell you that ignoring doubt is irresponsible, that you must be realistic, that you must solve every fearful scenario it presents. But notice, it never finishes. The more you wrestle with one concern, the more new ones appear. It is not looking for resolution, it is looking for fuel. The only real way to win that game is to stop playing it. You win not by pinning doubt to the ground, but by no longer stepping into the ring at all. When you choose your desired reality and keep returning to it quietly, firmly, without explanation, something powerful happens. The old questions grow faint. They may still knock, but you stop opening the door. Over time, what once felt like a heavy, convincing voice becomes nothing more than background noise. Not because you finally argued well enough, but because you turned your attention to what you actually want to experience, and left the rest unfed. You want to know why your life keeps circling back to the same problems, the same frustrations, the same delays? It is because every time your desire rises, doubt is allowed to sit beside it and speak. You invite it into the conversation. You entertain it. You argue with it. You try to fix it. And in doing so, you give it a throne in your own mind. Tonight, I want you to remove that throne permanently. Imagine this. Your desire appears as a quiet, confident guest at the center of your awareness. Then doubt barges in, loud and nervous, demanding explanations. Up until now, you've tried to calm it, reason with it, reassure it. But what if you simply turned your back on it? What if, the very moment it opened its mouth, you refused the conversation entirely? That single move changes everything. Here is the secret you were never told. Doubt cannot live without your attention. It has no legs of its own. It stands only because you hold it up with inner dialogue, with questions, with how and when and what if it doesn't work. The instant you stop feeding it with attention, it begins to fade. Not after 10 minutes, not after an hour of affirmations, immediately. Your attention is life. Withdraw it, and doubt dies. So when that familiar voice appears. But look at your bank account. But you're still alone. But nothing has changed. You will do something radically simple. You will say within yourself, calmly but firmly, I am not having this conversation. No anger, no struggle, no tension. Just a clean refusal. And then, without delay, you shift. You step right back into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, as if you never left. Feel how powerful this is. You are no longer the person begging doubt to be quiet. You are the one who decides what is allowed to exist in your inner world. You move your attention like a king moving his gaze. Where you look, life grows. Where you do not look, it withers. When you choose, again and again, to look only at the end already accomplished, you are quietly rewriting your destiny. At first, this will feel unfamiliar. Doubt will try to hook you with very reasonable arguments. It will tell you that ignoring it is irresponsible, unrealistic, naive. Smile at that. You are not ignoring reality. You are selecting which reality to magnify. There are infinite possible futures branching out before you, and your sustained attention is the hand that points to the one that must solidify. Give yourself just 7 days of unwavering commitment to this. Every time doubt appears, you have one job: notice it, refuse the conversation, and step straight back into the scene where you are already the person you desire to be. Do this quickly, do it gently, and do it every time. Soon you will notice something remarkable. The inner noise quiets, the questions fade, and what once felt like acting begins to feel natural. And when the state of the wish fulfilled becomes natural, the outer world has no choice but to follow. Here is the secret. Most people miss completely. The first few seconds are everything. Not the hour you spend overthinking. Not the journaling. Not the long debate in your mind. The moment doubt shows its face, those first heartbeats decide whether it lives or dies. If you let it sit, it will start building a story. If you cut it off immediately, it has no story to tell, no roots to grow, no life in your world. Picture this. A tiny thought whispers, "But what if it doesn't work?" That's the crossroads. Most people lean in, start listening, start answering the question. You will not do that anymore. The instant you notice that whisper, you recognize it as nothing more than a suggestion, not a command. You don't bow to it, you don't negotiate with it. You calmly say inside, "That's not my path," and you turn your attention away as if someone called your name from a room you refuse to enter. Think of doubt like a salesman at your door. If you open the door, listen, ask questions, compare prices, suddenly you're trapped in a long conversation. But if you see who it is and simply close the door without a word, what power do they have? None. They stand outside with their script and no audience. That is what you're doing with these thoughts. You are closing the door before the conversation starts. You have far more power in the first few seconds of a thought than you do after it has sat in your mind for an hour. In those first moments, what appears in consciousness is soft clay. It can be shaped, redirected, dismissed. Leave it alone and it hardens into stone, and then you wonder why it feels so heavy, so real, so unmovable. Think of doubt as a tiny spark on dry grass. A spark cannot burn you. You could step on it and it dies. But if you stare at it, question it, talk about it, you are giving it time. In that time, it finds fuel. It grows into a flame, then a fire, then something that looks like an unstoppable blaze in your inner world. The spark was never the problem. The delay was. Those first moments after doubt appears are critical. When the thought, "What if this doesn't work?" shows up, it is not yet powerful. It has no roots, no history, no evidence. It is just a suggestion. If in that moment you refuse the invitation and turn back to the feeling of your desire already done, the suggestion dies. It never gets the chance to organize your emotions and expectations. You closed the door while it was still outside. Lingering with it, on the other hand, is quiet agreement. When you sit with the questioning, analyze it, and try to reason your way out of it, you are silently saying, "You belong here." And the moment you give it time, it begins to weave itself into your sense of this is just how things are. That is all doubt ever wants. Enough of your attention to masquerade as truth. Turning quickly protects your inner world from this disguise. By shifting fast, you never allow the lie to dress itself up as reality. You see it in its flimsy form. Just a thought, one option among many. You notice, there is that old voice again, and you turn away before it finishes its sentence. This is not rushing. This is decisiveness. It is you choosing who is allowed to speak in the sanctuary of your mind. With practice, this quick turning becomes natural. At first you will catch yourself late, 10 minutes into worry, half an hour into mental arguments. Each time you notice, you shorten the gap. From 30 minutes down to 5, from 5 down to 1, from 1 down to a few seconds. One day you realize the doubt barely appears before you have already returned to the inner scene of fulfillment. Here is the quiet miracle. when you consistently move fast on the inside, life begins to move fast on the outside. You are no longer spending hours repairing the damage done by one unattended thought. You are guarding the door instead of cleaning up the mess. Clear inner choices create a calm atmosphere within you, and it is in that undisturbed atmosphere that what you desire can finally show up and stay. For the next 7 days, I want you to treat your mind like sacred ground. Nothing enters and stays unless you allow it. Your only task in this sacred week is simple but powerful. Watch for doubt and redirect it before it sinks its claws into you. Here. That's how it begins. The very first time doubt shows up, don't panic, don't analyze, don't ask why. Catch it like you would catch a spark before it becomes a fire. The moment you notice, there it is, that familiar, what if it doesn't work? You've already won half the battle. Awareness is your signal. That's your bell ringing, telling you, now is the moment to move. I end that moment. Speed is everything. Don't negotiate with the thought. Don't reason with it. The longer you stare at it, the more real it feels. Instead, with calm authority, you cut the conversation short. You might say within yourself, I'm not interested in that, or that's not my reality. Short, clean, decisive. This is you closing the door. Not slamming it in fear, just gently but firmly turning the lock. Next comes the most important shift. You don't stay at the door arguing with what you just shut out. You turn your back to it completely and walk into the room you actually want to live in, the feeling of your wish already fulfilled. If your desire is financial freedom, you step into the quiet confidence of already being provided for. If it's love, you feel the warmth of being chosen, cherished, secure. Not someday. Now. For 20-30 seconds, you let that inner movie run and the feeling take over your body. During these 7 days, doubt will show up a lot at first. That's not failure. That is training. Every time you catch it and redirect, you are rewiring your inner reactions. You are teaching your consciousness a new rule. Doubt does not get my attention. My desire fulfilled does. Think of each redirect like a mental rep at the gym. One rep doesn't change your life, but hundreds of reps over 7 days? That builds something permanent. By day 3 or 4, you'll notice something subtle but profound. The doubt that used to feel heavy and convincing will start feeling flimsy, almost transparent. It still pops up, but there's no grip. You see it, you shrug, you return to the end. The emotional charge fades because you are no longer feeding it with long internal conversations. By day 7, you will feel different in your core. The desire won't feel far away or fragile anymore. It will feel normal, natural, almost obvious, like something that belongs to you. That is the real gift of this practice. Not just that circumstances begin to shift, but that your inner state is no longer at the mercy of every passing worry. For 1 week, make this your solemn agreement with yourself. Every doubt dies in 30 seconds or less. Notice it, dismiss it, return to the fulfilled state. Do this, and you won't just be practicing a technique. You'll be reclaiming your authority over your own consciousness.